A few days ago, I welcomed a couple of roasters to the roastery, and we were discussing the impact of moving from the Probatone roaster through to the Loring, and specifically talking about colour development and colour development on the inner core of the bean and the outer. And one of the things that we discussed was a process around taking a measurement of the outer coloration and the inner coloration and spotting the difference between the two. Now, this is not something that I have yet done within the roastery, and to be brutally honest, it was something that I hadn't ever even considered. And this is the benefit of talking to other professionals within the industries you work. So this video is a bit of a live take on me making an assessment of a batch that I roasted last week prior to me roasting the same batch this week. And I just want to see what the color difference is between the outer cells and the inner cells. So I'll be doing this by taking a measurement using my Lightel's color meter of just the beans and the same roast but ground coffee. And I'll then be able to take a color reading of both the ground coffee and the whole bean coffee, and therefore be able to map the difference between the color of the outer cell structure, i.e. the beans, and the inner cell structure, i.e. the ground coffee. So this video is a short description about the process that I'll do and hopefully the results, and maybe a little discussion about how I may adjust my roast profile if there is a large disparity between the two colors. For reference, optimal roasting is where you have an even color distribution from the inner core cells of the bean and the outer cell structure itself. I'm not entirely sure as to whether I need to make any weight analysis of the roasted beans or the ground coffee, but for the sake of doing it, I'm going to weigh some whole beans into the tray now. And I'm also going to, once I've smoothed everything out, I'm going to make a note of what that weight is, and maybe the weight will be the same for the ground coffee. Who knows? For reference and completeness, this is roast batch 25034 of a natural processed Arara varietal grown in Brazil. The whole bean sample weight is 40 grams. So I'm just going to make a note of that. Now I'm going to take a sample of the color using the Lightel's color meter by placing said apparatus on top of the beans, turning it on, checking the scale, and taking a measurement. The color measurement of this is 72.3, and that is designated as light on this particular scale. Next, I'm going to take the same sample and I'll grind it as I would do in any normal color analysis, and we'll see what that color is too. I've taken the coffee sample and I've ground it on our Mulkonig EK43 at setting number 6.5. Now this is a relatively old grinder, so those grind scales are different to many maybe. Anyhow, just for reference, that's what the grind size was. And I'm now going to weigh out the coffee, see whether there's going to be the same sample weight, which I don't believe there is. Now that I have the ground coffee, let's take a color reading, noting that 72.3 was the previous reading, so we're taking this measurement, and the measurement of this is 87, very light. So what does that tell me? A number of things, to be fair. One, that the outer bean coloration is darker than the inner bean coloration. So I've got to go and think on about that. Could it be because of the way that the light is refracted inside of this device that we're getting a bit more shading and therefore a darker coloration on the whole bean versus the ground? Do you know what? After 15 years of roasting, I don't really know the answer to this, but it will now give me a route forward in investigating the notion between an even coloration between the outer bean surface and the inner bean surface. That being said, 87, that's pretty light, very light on these color turns, and something that I'm not particularly dismayed about. And not that I'm going to cause or throw cause for concern, but definitely this is something that I need to investigate. There are a couple of roaster trainers that I'm aware of that do digital roast training that I may be able to purchase some time with to try and investigate this. There is a gentleman I know that runs in Copenhagen a 2-day loring-based course that may help me to decide or discern exactly what's going on. But it does show, even when you spend a good proportion of your working life doing something, that there's always new things to learn, which I find deeply interesting. Anyhow, this roast, it tastes delicious. It scores 87 on this particular Agtron scale. Go and learn some more, James. Anyway, I hope this is interesting. If you have any comment about roast color, how we assess this, what tools I'm using, do use the comment section below. And of course, I've not said this before, but like and subscribe if you enjoy this roaster related content. By all means, do reach out for any advice. Specifically not about roast color though. Anyway, catch you next time.